Top 10 Rare, Horrific, Historical Moments of the 1900s. Shocking Photos and Footage. Hello and welcome. Today we'll visit the top 10 rare, horrific, historical moments of the 1900s with shocking photos and footage. From poorly fed prisoners to black people's segregation zoos, we'll see the top 10 rarest and most disturbing images of the 1900s. Let's get right into it. Before we proceed, do like, comment, and share this. Also, please subscribe to this channel to get more videos like this. Now, let's go on. Cutting hair as punishment in China. In the aftermath of World War II, women in Zhufen, China were subjected to a humiliating form of punishment. Their hair was cut off. This was done as a way to shame them and their families and to make them feel like they had been conquered. The practice was widespread, and it is estimated that thousands of women were affected. The reasons for this punishment are complex. Some historians believed that it was a way for the Japanese occupiers to assert their dominance over the Chinese people. Others think that it was a way to punish women who had been involved with the Chinese resistance. Whatever the reason, the practice was deeply traumatic for the women who experienced it. The haircutting in Zhufen is just one example of how women were targeted during World War II. In other parts of China, women were raped, forced into prostitution, and even killed. The war had a devastating impact on women, and its effects are still felt today. Steinhoff's cruelty. In May 1944, Nazi camp overseer Gotha Steinhoff set her in the middle, stifling a smile as she went on trial for torturing and murdering prisoners. She was accused of being one of the most brutal guards at the Ravensbrück concentration camp, where she was known for her sadistic punishments and her indifference to the suffering of her victims. Steinhoff was born in 1922 in Germany. She joined the Nazi Party in 1939 and was eventually assigned to Ravensbrück, a camp for women and children. At Ravensbrück, Steinhoff oversaw the prisoners' work details and meting out punishments to those who disobeyed her orders. She was known for her cruelty, and she often inflicted physical and psychological abuse on the prisoners. One of Steinhoff's most notorious punishments was the ice water bath. She would force prisoners to stand in a tub of ice water for hours, even in the coldest weather. This punishment often led to hypothermia and even death. Steinhoff also enjoyed beating prisoners with a whip or a truncheon. She would often hit them until they were unconscious. Steinhoff was eventually captured by the Allies and brought to trial for her crimes. She was found guilty of war crimes and crimes against humanity and was sentenced to death. She was executed by hanging in 1946. Serial rapist Kadera escorted into court. In 1946, Japanese serial rapist, serial killer, Navy veteran, and confessed war criminal Yo Kadera was escorted into court with his face concealed by a straw hat. He was accused of raping and killing dozens of women and children during World War II. Kadera was born in 1918 in Japan. He joined the Japanese Navy in 1937 and served in the Pacific during World War II. After the war, he was captured by the Allies and brought to trial for his crimes. At his trial, Kadera confessed to raping and killing dozens of women and children. He said that he had been ordered to do so by his superiors. However, the judges found him guilty of war crimes and crimes against humanity and sentenced him to death. He was executed by hanging in 1947. Arendeus killed in a firing squad. Willem Arendeus was a Dutch artist, author, and resistance fighter who was openly gay. He was born in Amsterdam in 1897. He studied art at the Rijksakademie van Beelden en Kunsten in Amsterdam and worked as a graphic designer. In 1940, when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands, Arendeus joined the Dutch resistance movement. He used his artistic skills to create forged documents for Jews and others in danger from the Nazis. He also participated in sabotage operations, including the bombing of the Amsterdam Public Record Office in 1943. Arendeus was captured by the Nazis in 1943 and executed by firing squad in 1944. The Dutch government posthumously awarded him the Resistance Cross. Photograph of the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp. There is an aerial photograph of the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp taken in May 1944 by a British Royal Air Force reconnaissance plane. The picture shows the base in great detail, including the barracks, gas chambers, and crematoria. The photograph was taken on May 3, 1944, by a Mosquito PR-19 reconnaissance plane number 60 Squadron RAF. The aircraft was flying at an altitude of 26,000 feet and was taking photographs of the IG Farbenbühne factory at Monowitz, located near Auschwitz. The photo of Auschwitz-Birkenau was taken by accident as the plane was panning across the landscape to get a better view of the factory. The photograph was developed and analyzed by British intelligence, but its significance was not immediately recognized. It was not until after the war that the picture was identified as being of Auschwitz-Birkenau. The photograph is now considered one of the most critical pieces of evidence of the Holocaust. The photograph shows the full extent of the Auschwitz-Birkenau complex. The camp was divided into two parts, Auschwitz I and Auschwitz II-Birkenau. Auschwitz I was the original camp, which was established in 1940. Auschwitz II-Birkenau was the larger of the two camps where most mass killings occurred. Photos of prisoners in the concentration camp. There is an image of prisoners of Auschwitz concentration camp after their liberation by the Red Army. The Red Army liberated Auschwitz on January 27, 1945. When they arrived, they found the camp in a state of chaos. The prisoners were emaciated and sick, and many were dead. The Red Army immediately began to provide medical care to the prisoners and help them rebuild their lives. The liberation of Auschwitz was a significant turning point in the war. It showed the world the true horrors of the Holocaust, and it helped to galvanize the Allies in their fight against the Nazis. Segregation at the Memphis Zoo. The Memphis Zoo was segregated during the 1950s and only allowed colored people to enter on Thursdays. This was following the Jim Crow laws that were in effect in Tennessee at the time. Jim Crow laws were a system of segregation that existed in the southern United States from the late 19th century to the mid-20th century. These laws enforced racial segregation in all aspects of public life, including schools, restaurants, hotels, and transportation. The Memphis Zoo was not the only segregated establishment in Tennessee during the 1950s. Public places such as parks, libraries, and theaters were also segregated. This system of segregation was profoundly unfair and discriminatory, leading to a great deal of social and political unrest. The Memphis Zoo was finally desegregated in 1961 following the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This was a significant victory for the civil rights movement, and it helped to pave the way for a more just and equitable society. A man's hair forcibly cut in the 1920s. In 1920, the Japanese colonial government in South Korea cracked down on men with long hair and women wearing short skirts. This was part of a more significant effort to suppress Korean culture and identity. Soldiers were sent out to patrol the streets and forcibly cut the hair of any man they found with long hair. Women who were caught wearing short skirts were also arrested and fined. This crackdown was met with widespread anger and resentment from the Korean people. It was seen as an attempt to erase their culture and identity. Many Koreans refused to comply with the new rules, and some even went so far as to shave their heads in protest. The crackdown eventually fizzled out, but it left a lasting legacy. It is a reminder of the lengths the Japanese colonial government would go to suppress Korean culture and identity. A man's hair was forcibly cut in front of people as a way of humiliating him and making an example of him. This was a clear message from the Japanese colonial government that they would not tolerate any expression of Korean culture or identity. Perfectly preserved sculpture uncovered. In 1900, archaeologists uncover a near-perfectly preserved, still upright statue of Antonius in Antinopolis, Egypt. The figure is made of white marble and is approximately 2.5 meters tall. It depicts Antonius as a young man with long flowing hair and a beard. The statue is in excellent condition and is considered one of the most important pieces of art from the Roman era. Antonius was a young Greek man who was the lover of the Roman Empire Hadrian. He died in 130 AD under mysterious circumstances and was deified by Hadrian. Antonius was worshipped as a god throughout the Roman Empire, and his cult was particularly popular in Egypt. The statue of Antonius found in Antinopolis is a rare and valuable artifact. It provides us with a glimpse into the life and the cult of Antonius, and it is a testament to the skill of Roman sculptors. German trench occupied by British soldiers. In the 1970s, a German trench occupied by British soldiers of a Company 11th Battalion was rediscovered on the Somme battlefield. The trench is in disrepair, but it was still possible to see the original German fortifications, including the parapet, fire steps, and communication trenches. The British soldiers had occupied the trench during the Battle of the Somme in 1916, and they had left behind some artifacts, including helmets, ammunition, and personal belongings. The rediscovery of the trench was a significant archaeological find, providing a valuable glimpse into the First World War. The trench was located near the village of Ouvrier-la-Boisselle, which was heavily fought over during the Battle of the Somme. The British captured the village on July 1, 1916, but the Germans counterattacked several times in the following weeks. The trench was one of the many German positions captured by the British during the battle. The trench was rediscovered in 1973 by a group of British soldiers conducting a training exercise on the Somme battlefield. The soldiers were surprised to find the trench, which was in disrepair. However, they could identify the trench as a German position based on the original fortifications. We have come to the end of today's video. We hope you learned a lot. Do come back for more. Also, like, comment, share this video, and subscribe to this channel. Bye for now.